The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the guests or hosts, and not necessarily those of the advertisers, networks, platforms, or stations. Warning that the content of the show may not be suitable for all audiences, and that viewer discretion is advised. The show does not intend to provide medical, legal, or financial advice, and viewers or listeners should consult with a professional before making any decisions based on the information.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Intelligence Agency Radio Live. We are broadcasting from down in a 300-foot deep nuclear missile silo, lost in the post-apocalyptic wastelands of the Dakota Territories. And as always, I'm joined by the paranormal crime fighting duo, Miss Daisy and the Sundance Kid. High above us, believe it or not, are migrating Mongolian death worms. They are radioactive, electric, and they're looking for a good time. And I'm your host, Jack Carey. I've got a voice for smell-o-vision and a face for milk cartons. And tonight we are examining, well, an interesting, I guess, happening that's going on right now will be our main topic. It's also paranormal in the news tonight. And that's the fact that some of the smartest, at least one of the smartest scientists on the planet, a guy from Harvard named A.B. Loeb, believes that there is an interstellar craft right now on its way. It is coming to the Earth. This has been published in mainstream media. It's all over the place. I'm going to be quoting from a New York Post article tonight concerning that. It's on CBS News Boston right now. If you're in Boston, you can actually watch a story about that. But it's interesting because this is the same scientist who previously detected and notified all of us out here in the, in paranormal land and beyond. He's, this guy was a mainstreamer, is a mainstream scientist. He's trying to tell the world what's going on. And, there's all kinds of people putting up, all kinds of roadblocks and arguments and things like that instead of just listening to what might be one of the smartest scientists on the planet. And he brought to us a previous object that came the first ever recorded from interstellar space on a very strange trajectory. And it skimmed by the Earth. And at the time, he said that it had all of the impressions of being an alien probe of some kind. So the scenario plays out. Oumuamua, as it was called, which I think means distant traveler in the Hawaiian language, or distant messenger, something like that, came through. It was probably an alien probe. It detected that there was life on this planet. We don't know how advanced it was and what it was able to pick up, but apparently it sent a signal back to another craft, and that craft is en route. It will be here in November. All of this was predicted by the Webbot. Major hit. Bing. Major hit. And the fact that it was predicted by the Webbot means the probability of its other predictions coming true in very short order is an extremely high probability. I'll repeat that. It is an extremely high probability. It also predicted that there would be going to geopolitical excuse me, I'm having a computer issue here. But going to geopolitical front and news, it predicted that there would be a mass migration of illegal aliens from the United States back to their home countries. And it predicted this a long time ago, a couple of years ago. It predicted it before the migration crisis even really began. Another major hit. Again, shooting probability that its other predictions are extremely accurate and about to take place. So we're going to start with cyber prophecy. We've got a lot of our main topic, really sort of, it's a big melting pot. Our main topic is this incoming alien craft. At the same time, it ties in with our paranormal in the news this week and our cyber prophecies this week. The Webbot predicted that aliens and an alien craft or technology of some kind would show up in mainstream media and become a big topic. And it is, if you've looked online, it is literally everywhere. Forget what the lack of coverage by legacy MSM like ABC and stuff like that, although CBS is running a story about it. Those are nothing but propaganda rags for the left wing of this country, and that's just the way it is. It's controlled by money that has left-wing political views in our country, and so a lot of the news coming out of those big networks just can't be trusted. In most cases, they just don't report stuff that would upset the apple cart of control that is going on this planet. But hey, that's why you listen to shows like ours. And so all of this ties into one big, pretty bow.
I found this place in the woods. We dropped Amber's notebook in it. And now I'm worried that Amber's drawings might be...
if you will. And the fact is Lockheed Martin came out this week with a shocker of a news release. If you go in and if you just do a simple news search for Lockheed Martin, which I'm going to do right now while we're on the air, and hit news, you're going to see a lot of articles, and one of them is from Defense Connect, which is interesting. And, this hit mainstream media, but it didn't make the waves that we thought it would make. But the headline that's mainly running is that the CEO of Lockheed Martin, the president and CEO of global aerospace leader, Lockheed Martin, his name is Jim Taiclet, has set tongues wagging following the company's second quarter financial results, revealing a $1.6 billion pre-tax loss. But, and this is the big but in all of this, he reveals a magical, their words, guys, not ours, a magical next generation aircraft for U.S. and international customers. Basically what they're saying is, in their press releases, they don't care that they've suffered billions in losses developing this new magical technology, because it is a complete, utter, and total game changer for the aerospace and aeronautical industry together. So, and who does Lockheed Martin own? Why, they own Skunk Works, and Skunk Works is who develops the craft at Area 51. Isn't that an interesting little piece of the puzzle that all fits together? And this ties together tonight because, along with talking about this new arrival, this alien that's coming, this alien craft. We're going to talk about what might be in store for that alien craft. They might be in for a little bit of shock. They might think that we're easy pickings, that we're sitting here like fish in a barrel, not realizing that the universe in its self-revealing ontological nature, which it truly is, put humanity into a position to acquire alien, non-human intelligence technology, whether that's by shooting those craft down or whether by them wandering into our radar systems early on and not realizing it would mess with their propulsion systems and they crashed. We don't know. There have been some intelligence insiders saying that, yeah, we have a type of electromagnetic pulse weapon that can bring down a UFO. I believe that's probably the case, and that we've recovered many craft, and the universe put us in that position to be able to obtain that technology. Really kind of like have you ever played a video game where there's a power up and you get powered up to the next level just instantaneously in the video game? Well, humanity apparently is going through a power up that was set in motion by the karma flow, the ontological nature of the universe, which allowed us to acquire this technology, which we're going to talk about tonight. The United States Navy is now patented, and we're going to talk about the Navy's UFO patents and all of this. But it put us in this position, and then all of a sudden, we spend decades here back engineering, weaponizing that technology. We got our own little U.S. UFOs flying around. They're doing who knows what. And here, all of a sudden, last year before, Oumuamua comes through this alien probe that seems to have been built inside of it's almost like they took an asteroid and built technology inside the asteroid, which is a pretty smart thing to do if you're an advanced civilization. And so the probe comes through, beep, 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 life sends back a signal to the death ship, let's call it that, because the New York Post is running an article that this may be a hostile alien craft. Their headline is that a rare interstellar object the size of Manhattan could be an a hostile alien probe, Harvard scientists. So here's the idea that the probe came through, it sent back a signal, here's your target, to a ship. That ship is en route to us, and what it's going to find when it gets here is a species, the human species, which is an abused species, which is a species like Graham Hancock often says, lives in a constant state of amnesia, forced amnesia, I would argue, about its past, seemingly at the will of a non-human intelligence, which is here on the planet and can remove people at will from this planet and does so. But in the course of interacting with us, has coughed up a lot of technology over to us. We've been busy working away, trying to weaponize that technology, and all of a sudden this big alien ship the size of Manhattan is going to show up, perhaps in a hostile posture, and it's going to find a planet that is armed to the teeth with back-engineered alien technology, not to mention aliens living here on the planet in vast numbers in our oceans, something else the Webbot predicted would become known. Said it mainly was kind of pointing into July, but also, you know, as far as time is concerned, it can be off a little bit. So maybe into August, the world will become enamored with the idea that aliens are in the ocean. And what's going to happen then? That is the main subject that we'll be talking tonight. And if we have time, we're going to get to the idea that there could exist within organized occult circles that have come down to us, been around since like the 1400s. The idea that there is an ultimate matrix reality hack, and that certain groups have had access to this reality hack, if you will, and that reality hack comes in the form of the Enochian alphabet and language. What if I told you that that language was acquired by human hands through non-human intelligences? That when you examine all of the documents surrounding how it was acquired, you begin to get the idea that these beings who relayed this information were somehow, well, arbitrators, workers, nodes in the matrix, that they were somehow part of the programming of the matrix itself. And that's some fascinating stuff. So hopefully we will get to that as well. But New York Post running this article, the newly discovered Manhattan-sized interstellar object zooming through our solar system has been identified as a comet, but two Harvard scientists argue there is reason to believe it's really an alien probe. So take a look at that, guys. There's a lot of information out there about this idea that this thing has a trajectory and it's a velocity that doesn't match anything known in astrophysics. And the fact that the Webbot predicted that July would be a time when we would see a lot of public awareness, if you will, of the alien presence on the planet. Other paranormal in the news is the Bogota sphere from Colombia. So I previously reported that a number of these spheres, as far as I'm aware, 6 of them have been, picked up off the ground by people around the world where they landed. They were hovering, floating midair. It was like all of a sudden maybe their energy source got interrupted and they landed and people were able to pick them up. There's 6 of them. But the most famous right now is the one from Colombia, a place called Bogota in Colombia. And it's being examined by a team of world scientists, and they've been able to activate the sphere. The sphere hovers right in front of them. They know how to activate it. They've got images of the inside that are inexplicable. It looks like a bunch of fiber optic like stuff, but there's no wiring. And the spheres are both transmitting and receiving encoded signals. That is yet another major Webbot hit to report to you guys tonight. The Webbot predicted that alien technology would come into the possession of regular everyday people, and that would become part of overall disclosure. And it looks like that, in fact, is taking place. If you look online, you'll be able to see video footage of the sphere actually floating in midair and all of that. Now, it was reported that some of these spheres, where they landed, it killed the plant life around the sphere, and it rendered the soil hydrophobic. So the soil will no longer absorb water. The spheres have all kinds of strange markings on them that look like alien writing. I wouldn't know how else to explain it than that. And it looks like the scientists who have studied it says it operates very much like Tesla's idea of a central coil emanating electricity through the air, and that these devices pick up that electricity and are able to utilize it. How strange is that? What's even weirder is that when you examine the surface of the Boogosphere anyway, the writing on it, the alien writing and symbols that are on the craft appear to be worn down. In other words, this thing has been around for a very long time and has been in use apparently for that long. And again, we come back to that idea: is the so-called aliens living in the ocean? Is that protogenesis aliens that evolved here separately from us on the planet, or did they migrate here from another planet or dimension? And are they the same beings that are abducting people? It's all a good question, because Whitley Strieber put a lot of doubt into a lot of people's minds with his interview last week or the week before, where, he basically stated that he wasn't able to ascertain ever that they came from another planet. And to him, it seemed like these beings were somehow like guards of the Matrix itself, of the holographic sort of program that is running our reality matrix. That's really the best way to put that. So that's interesting. The Boogospheres are out there. Lockheed Martin's magical technology, probably originating out of Area 51, probably has a lot to do with back-engineered alien technology, and it probably will be game-changing. This is part of the summer of emergence, part of the Webbot's prediction of sci-fi world emerging, and you're getting to see it live. There are plenty of other cyber prophecy predictions that are going on right now. Probably ought to touch on those. One is that the farsight.org group is predicting that the war between Russia and Ukraine only gets worse over time. You might say, well, you could flip a coin and determine that. Well, this was blind targeting. These people usually are targeting paranormal targets. And so for them to all come back and say, no, it looks like this gets worse and spreads into Western Europe, could really be the case. So we have to prepare ourselves for that possible eventuality. The farsight.org group, the same group, previously had targeted the alien probe I was talking about, the one that came through and identified us to its mothership, apparently. They blindly targeted that object, and they reported that it was in fact a derelict alien craft, that at some point it had been attacked, that there was a huge gaping hole in the side, and that there were dead people on board. That's right, I said people, like human-looking people. So take that into account. That's crazy stuff. And so Farsight is saying the war gets worse. we'll have to see. Basically, their prediction is if you continue to feed the war with weaponry of any kind, then if you feed the fire, this particular fire, the fire will spread. That's basically what their warning was. There really doesn't seem to be an answer or solution to somebody that's, basically hell-bent on war. So that's just the way it is. Along with that are some major predictions for cryptocurrency. We're going to discuss that. I'm not a financial advisor, but when you get all of this indications coming from a paranormal source, and they all seem to be part of the same puzzle, they're just different pieces, then it's kind of interesting to touch upon all of them. And, the economy of the paranormal is something you probably don't hear discussed much, but we're going to talk about that as well when we come back from our break. And like I said, we're going to delve into what might be in store for this alien craft, who might be spoiling for a fight. We'll see what the great Dr. Pies is his name, the man who's behind the Navy's UFO patents, has to give them. And we'll talk about that right after our break.
I'm Sarah, and this is my story.
I'm Ellen, and this is my story.
One night, I was at a bar.
I
was having fun with my friends.
I
had one too many drinks. I got behind the wheel to go home.
I got a cab to go home.
All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a squirrel ran across the road.
And all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a squirrel ran across the road.
It happened so quickly, I barely had time to react.
It happened so quickly, the cabbie barely had time to react.
I swerved.
The cab swerved.
I can't believe it. I hit a guy.
I cannot believe it. The cabbie just missed a guy.
I wish I took a cab.
Thank goodness I took a cab.
You have the choice to save a life. Don't drive buzzed. It's a decision you'll never regret. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Ancient times to modern days. Legends of creatures in sudden disarray. Hear them speak through frequencies. Alien connections. Tune it in, break it out, truth untold. Do it in cosmic mystery. Dark woods, where legends breathe. Paranormal whispers, can you believe? Bigfoot strikes through the veils. Darkman howls in the midnight tale. From the Its shadows creeping near. Through the static, voices clear. Dark woods where legends breathe. Paranormal whispers. Can you believe? It's the Paranormal Intelligence Agency Radio. Wednesday nights, enjoy the show. It's how we spend our Wednesday nights. Yay, yay. It's crank that dial and dim the show. It's how we spend our Wednesday.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Intelligence Agency Radio Live. I'm your host, Jack, your tour guide to the Twilight Zone. And tonight we're talking about incoming. We got a potentially hostile alien craft. It's out there. We were just discussing on break, the possibility that this is a less advanced alien life form than the ones that are already here. And isn't that an interesting scenario for a possibly hostile, however less advanced life form to show up wanting to cause some trouble, wanting to kick some dust up, and all of a sudden it runs into the fact that here on planet Earth we've got these little guys called Greys, and they apparently have praying mantis overlords, and they're in contest with the reptilians, and this guy's going to show up wanting to cause some trouble, and he's going to run into a freak show. So how long do we think they're going to stay? I guess we could put that up as a prize for the show. We'll have people.
Jack, they're just here for asylum. Come on now. They're just here for asylum,
Could be. They throw out the anchor, and all of the drunk alien sailors just come piling off, looking for the beautiful human women.
No. They're all military age. They're just here for, for asylum because they're war-torn world.
Well, that could very well be. It could be that they're on leave, and all I can say is watch out for the space herpes. It could be a case of that going on, but everybody's seen Spaceballs, I take it. I hope so. It's genius.
You just didn't say space herpes, did you?
I did, yes, from the movie Spaceballs. I did, in fact. We cover everything here on the PIA Radio Live. So, but here it is. Here's this ship. It's coming in. It's got some nefarious plans in mind, and all of a sudden you pull up. Well, here's a Vice article, and it states, the U.S. Navy has patents on weird and little understood technology. According to patents filed by the Navy, it is working on compact fusion reactor that could power cities, an engine that works using inertial mass reduction, and a hybrid aerospace underwater craft dubbed the UFO patents. The War Zone has reported that the Navy had to build prototypes of some of the outlandish tech to prove that it worked. How about that? That's right off the Vice website, guys. If you go to the War Zone, they have the same information. The U.S. Navy filed these patents. This was widely published, and people didn't all of a sudden foment an uproar about all of this absolutely had to have come from back engineered alien technology, right? the funny thing is the actual headline for the article is U.S. Navy has patents on tech it says will, quote, engineer the fabric of reality. Engineer the fabric of reality. Yeah, wrap your mind around that. That'll bend your noodle. The patents, as it goes on to say, all build on each other, but at their core is something called PIA, is something Pies calls the Pies effect. This is the idea that, quote, controlled motion of electrically charged matter via accelerated vibration and or accelerated spin subjected to smooth yet rapid acceleration transients in order to generate extremely high energy / high intensity electromagnetic fields. Guys, that's the ultimate weapon. The absolute ultimate weapon. If you can generate high enough intensity electromagnetic fields, you can form a force field around the body of the craft that is impenetrable. That's exactly what Tesla had talked about, that he could build a device that would create basically a barrier, electromagnetic barrier over the United States that would be impenetrable to any kind of attack. And here, the U.S. Navy has patents saying that, yeah, we have it, we can do it, and we had to build some of this technology and show it to the patent office to prove that it worked. I wonder what that was like, to bring them into a room and say, yep, this is our little device, and it bends the fabric of reality as you know it. I wonder how that meeting went. That had to be interesting, right? It goes on to say, essentially, Pies is claiming to use properly spun electromagnetic fields to contain a fusion reaction. That plasma fusion reaction he claims to have invented will revolutionize power consumption. Experts theorize that a functioning fusion reactor would lead to cheap and ubiquitous energy. And what did the Webbot predict? It predicted that they would do exactly that. They would begin to introduce zero-point energy that they got from back-engineered alien technology that you paid for with your tax money. Period. Not only you, but your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren, they're all going to be in debt because of it. So one of Pies and the Navy's patents described what the propulsion system and fusion drive would be used for, a, quote, hybrid aerospace underwater craft. I wonder where they got that idea from. Could it be because our Navy craft constantly are buzzed by these ships coming up out of the water of the ocean, apparently attracted to them like moths to a flame for their nuclear propulsion? That attraction between UFOs and nuclear anything is a major, if not the major, pattern regarding this entire phenomenon. But it goes on to say, according to the patent, the craft could travel land, sea, and outer space at incredible speeds. Other patents invented by Pies and filed by the Navy include a high-temperature superconductor, an electromagnetic field generator, and a high-frequency gravitational wave generator. A high-frequency gravitational wave generator. Do you know what you can do if you can generate artificially gravity That is a weapon that is truly a super weapon. And, you know, I'm going to have to touch on the fact that Richard Dolan, the ufologist, past couple of weeks, talked about how he believed that the Trump administration, certain officials within the Trump administration have so-called drunk the Kool-Aid, meaning that they have bought hook, line, and sinker the story that they've been told by the military-industrial complex / intelligence ABC agencies that this is such a high priority and it's so sensitive that if somebody successfully weaponized it against the United States, we'd be speaking Russian tomorrow or Chinese or what have you. And they believe it. But Trump has continually made little tiny statements about, oh, they don't even know what we have. Little statements about super weapons, little statements about how advanced we really are when it comes down to it. And that means that he's probably been read in somewhat to the situation. He's just been told and convinced that this is of such a sensitive nature and a high priority that we weaponize this successfully before our enemies do. And it looks like we have. I mean, they've got patents and working technology. And it goes on to say, it all sounds like science fiction. And the Navy has been skeptical too. Navy authorities called BS on Pi's inventions and his patents went through a lengthy internal review at NAVAIR. The war zone obtained emails about the bureaucratic fight between Pi's and the Navy through a Freedom of Information Act request and revealed that the mad scientist won. According to the patents, some of the technology is, quote, operable. That means the Navy is claiming some of Pi's, quote, wild tech works and has been demonstrated to Navy officials. There you go, guys. This guy, this Dr. Pi's, got his hands on alien technology and was successfully able to back engineer it to an operable mechanism, an operable machine. What else can we say but that, right? So here the Navy has back engineered technology. It's operational. They admitted it. It's right there in the Freedom of Information Act request that the war zone acquired. And the fact that they have operational alien technology, and now the intelligence agencies have to be fully aware of Dr. A.V. Loeb's claims that there is an incoming hostile alien craft that was directed here by an alien probe that already flew by the planet. You have to better believe they've got those craft, those U.S. UFOs are probably getting fired up as we speak. I bet you we begin to see all kinds of UFO activity reported at Area 51 as they begin to run drills using some of this alien technology, if nothing else, as a preparatory action for what might be a real alien crafted this way that is the size of Manhattan. That's a big craft, you know. What can you store on a craft the size of Manhattan? The Webbot makes it clear that the aliens that are already here on the planet, and by the way, will be here in November, they're not going anywhere, right? these aliens that are already on the planet have technology which seems to supersede a craft that has to travel here from that far of away, because the aliens that are here apparently or appear to possess a technology that allows them to bend space and time. In other words, they don't travel through space. They bend the fabric of space and jump from point A to point B without any time having gone by at all. This craft is having to take its time getting here. That seems to be a step down to me. And so what are we looking at? We're looking at a less technologically involved, perhaps, alien craft. It may not even be piloted by living beings. It might be a craft that is nothing but artificial intelligence. And let us not forget that it wasn't long ago that our own Voyager 1 spacecraft traveling through interstellar space went through the sort of bubble envelope caused by the sun as we're traveling behind it through space. And when it did, it flipped a cosmic switch. When it flipped that cosmic switch, all of a sudden, a download came to the human species through that spacecraft. That download, as I previously reported, came in the form of a geometric shape made up of mathematical geometrics that we have never even dreamed of before, but it was in the form of a human body. When the scientists viewed the shape, they instantaneously went through neurological changes in their brain structures. This was something that is even now still being studied by the scientists who are involved. That, let's call it alien brainworm, cosmic brainworm, is now downloaded into the consciousness of humanity because we all share the same field of consciousness. And it's making all kinds of, who knows what it's doing. Who knows what kind of radical changes it could be causing in our species. But we tripped it. And that could also be the other reason for this object now headed our way. Could it be possibly that this idea I have of a Type 3 civilization having colonized the entire galaxy got an indication that we were ready to be brought into the fold? We either flipped the switch or its probe said, yep, this one's ready to be plucked. Come and pluck it. Possible. Anything's possible. But what we do know is that we're in the throes of this summer of emergence. Many of these events have been predicted by the Webbot, and as we go into August, it does predict a little bit of a lull right before a huge wave of activity begins again this fall, September, October, and yes, November. When this craft arrives, all seems to fit this pattern that we are going to have surprise after surprise after surprise. Secret after secret after secret becomes revealed. And with every one of those secrets, with every one of those events, it's like a little earthquake in the consciousness of humanity. And we're slowly going to get through this major period of upheaval. I said I would mention the predictions, both Webbot predictions and remote viewing predictions. So it's important to point out that the Webbot, quite independently, it doesn't pay attention to remote viewing groups, predicted the same outcome for cryptocurrency right now in this event stream that's happening literally right now before our eyes, the same exact thing that's being predicted by Dick Algire's group, the Future Forecasting Group, who runs a paid-for business remote viewing future cryptocurrency prices for clients. And they do quite well. In fact, Dick Algire has done so well at it that he's been able to purchase a multi-million-dollar home in Honolulu simply by following the predictions of his group concerning the cryptocurrency Ethereum. But the prediction is that there's going to be a vast economic change worldwide from currencies the way we understand them to this whole new blockchain idea of currencies, and that transition causes, as you can imagine, will cause a lot of societal change, and with that, a lot of upheaval will occur. But in the long run, it will take over and will become sort of the whole way that the future is run is through this blockchain technology. So that, just be aware that that is out there, along with the prediction that the ability of the central banks around the world and the banking cabal that's been in power on this planet for as long as banking has been around, are going to lose control slowly but surely. And when they do, that's when all of this alien technology really begins to make its way out into the public. Don't forget that one of the major cyber prophecies is the decoupling of time. We are going to come up to a period here in our event stream, and these days I don't like to call it time. I like to call it the event stream. Time is an illusion. Time does not exist. You will never truly die. There is no true ending, only transformation. And our whole idea of time is going to change radically to a point where we begin to live our lives around developing technology which will sense the outcome of probabilities before they occur. And you will literally spend your days preparing yourself for the next event about to manifest in your event stream. You will know it's coming. An event in your life. Your event stream is your life. You will know when an event in your life is about to occur ahead of time. These probability patterns are known as qualia. If you want to get down and dirty with the details of theoretical physics and mathematics and alien technology, but it's referred to by insiders as qualia. This qualia can be detected, and there will be technology devised to detect it, and everyone will possess one of these machines which will detect an event about to manifest in your own event stream. That's how radical everything changes. And it's going to change in your lifetime. That's even more radical, right? That's some fast change. And I had this conversation last week about ontological shock with a few people who were like, I doubt ontological shock is real and all of this stuff. Well, it's very real. And if we can survive the ontological shock of having our entire idea of reality completely wiped out and replaced with something new as a species, then we're going to go on to great things. But that's a big if. And we're going to have to go through a period of ontological shock. Maybe it begins in November. But what's interesting is that in any crash, an ontological shock would be a crash of our accepted reality structure. the amount of damage that occurs is often dictated by the rate of descent, whether it be a plane crash or whether it be a society. And so a slow grinding down of the old way and slowly into the new way is going to cause a lot less upheaval and a lot less damage than a sudden spike downward. So cross your fingers. Here's to the idea that we don't have that sudden spike downward. And keep in mind, the universe has put us into this place, maybe, just maybe, we're the nasty little surprise for another life form. And join me next week, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central. We will talk about another crazy paranormal happening going on in the world. I'm your host, Jack Carey. I'll see you then.